Hey, Clouds of Tears. How y'all doing? I know I heard you. I heard you. You good. You good. That's good. I'm glad. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. So today, I'm going to get back to talking about a prison sentence, what it can do to a marriage, and how it affects your children, right? If left untreated, basically, because it's trauma, it's traumatic. Uh, we were talking about my oldest son, which is his junior, and how it affected him. He became depressed, and even before he could get out of that depression, his grandmother passed away, right? And they were very close, extremely close. So this kid is a quiet kid. Always have been though. That was not an effect of his father going to prison. He was always an introvert. So, and he was very quiet. But when that happened to his father, it was what is the word I'm looking for? I lost my train of words for some reason. I have a very good vocabulary, so it became more so. It became more so, and I know there's a word for it, and I can't think of it right now. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Uh, so he didn't really want to talk. That was one of his biggest things. When something bothered him, he didn't want to talk. And then at one point, he would only talk with his fists. He got into a lot of fights in school, in elementary school. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the office. And this is one of the ways he ended up getting counseling, because the principal and I of the school, we grew really tight because she seen that I wasn't the average new age parent. I chastised my children. They understood I'm in business, and so she could see that I was doing that, and so that it had to be something else going on. And so we had a conversation, and I told her about their dad. And so this is how he ended up getting counseling. And though it didn't take away his being quiet, it took away how it escalated, how his quietness had escalated to nearly almost not talking. So it brought him back to what was considered his norm. And that was a huge help. A lot of times with black households, I can't talk about nobody else's household, no other race, because I'm black. And I was raised in a black household, and I raised my children in a black household. So that's all I got to tell you. Again, remember, I am not a licensed professional. Everything I tell you is based on my experience, what did and didn't work for me, okay? So it's always, don't tell nobody what's going on in this house. What goes on in this house stays in this house. And so for me to talk to the principal, who I didn't know prior to, and I ended up building a relationship with because of, highly unusual. And we have to stop that. Now, I understand we don't have to broadcast our business, because a lot of people don't mean no good, so they want to use it against you. I get that. I understand that. I'm not saying go stand on the street corner and scream it out, or on the mountaintop and scream it out. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying when the time is right, you should be free. You should feel free to share things, especially when you need help. And I was at wit's end, literally, between my two boys. Because like I told you, my daughter, she in no trouble until she got 17. Perfect kid, no trouble in school, perfect grades. But them two boys, Lord, Jesus, whew, I would be checking one back in from being suspended. And when I'm checking that one in, the other one is coming to the office to be suspended for fighting. This went on for months. It was ridiculous. And I was at wit's end. I was losing my mind. I really was. Couldn't nobody tell me that I wasn't threatening a nervous breakdown or something, a full mental just explosion or something, because I was working, I was a student, I was a full-time student, and I was a full-time parent. And within those months, I gave up school. I missed so much school that it's just, I couldn't do it. I couldn't give up working. So school, I couldn't give up parenting. So school is what had to go. So I gave up school, which it affected me later too, because I did it in the middle of the semester. So I ended up with fails for all those classes, and I was full time, so I had 4 classes. So I ended up failing all 4 of those classes. And when I did go back to school, this is how I'm gonna tell you how it affected me. I hope this is a nugget for you. When I did go back to school years later, at least 15 years later, when I went back to school to complete my degree, when I was applying to graduate, I had to go get those grades. So I would have graduated summa cum laude, period. I graduated summa cum laude in my major, but not overall. I just graduated cum laude overall. And I know for some people that you don't care about that, but it meant a lot to me. I've always been, when I put my mind to something, you better believe it. It's gonna come to fruition. I'm gonna get it done. And so I worked hard in school to achieve summa cum laude. And until I turned those grades in to petition to graduate and for my degree, I was summa cum laude across the board. But once I turned those grades in, I was cum laude overall and summa cum laude in my major. I had a 4.0, period, in my major. All A pluses, which is really more than a 4.0. All A pluses, never anything less than an A, flat out, right? Yeah. So that happened because my children were angry and they didn't know how to process their anger. And I didn't know how to help them process their anger. One, they missed their father. They missed him dearly. He was a very present father, right? Though he worked 5 days a week, at least 8 hours a day, he was very present. He played basketball, football, whatever it was. He would get out there in the yard with the kids, ride bikes and skate. And he did the stuff that I didn't do. I ain't ride no bikes and I didn't skate. I didn't know how. It wasn't until after he went to prison that I started doing that stuff, because I had to be there for my children. But prior to that, that wasn't my thing. That was his thing, right? Homework, stuff like that, yeah, that was me. But when it came to outdoor enjoyment, stuff like that. That was all on him. I did not. I don't fish. But what my father did teach me how to bait my own hook, right? How to scale a fish, how to get the fish, clean the fish, and of course, baby, I can cook the fish. That I can do. But to go sit out and fish, I didn't do that. But their father would do that stuff with them, right? Stuff like that. So his presence was missed by his children and especially his boys, right? It was missed. So the only outlet that they knew to do was to fight. Now, granted, with my oldest son, if he was in a fight, you did something to him. He didn't pick any fights, but he didn't run from any fights, and he was quick to respond with fighting. Now that middle son of mine, he was picking fights. I'm laughing now. Please don't think that I'm not taking it seriously because I'm laughing. Because when I look back over this, I'm telling you, I really have to say to myself, dang girl, how did you make it through that? Like how did you make it through? I'm serious. I would be bringing one in to check back in from 2-3 days suspension, and the other one would be coming in the office to be suspended. This cost me a lot of time and a lot of money because I worked, and I purposely took a job where I can work while they were in school. So I didn't have to have daycare. I can drop them off. My job, their school, and where we live were within 3 miles of one another. This is home, this is school, this is work, right? So I leave home, drop them off at school, and go to work. I get off work, pick them up from school, and go home. Or to football practice, baseball practice, basketball, whatever it was. It had to go like that. But when they would get suspended, I didn't have the option to not go to work, but I would end up not going to school. I would end up paying someone to watch them, right? I had to pay for somebody to watch them for me to go to school at nighttime anyway. But if I had to take them there earlier or for all day, that cost me more money. Yeah. But back to the biggest problem at hand. My kids were being marked and labeled, right, as angry young black men. They really were. They really were. And I really have to give kudos to the principal. I'm not going to say her name. She already knows. I gave her kudos during the whole situation because she did everything she could to help me. And it worked for my oldest son. It worked. He calmed completely down. Now, I'm not going to say he never had another fight in his life, but I'm going to make sure before I say this. I think he was never suspended from school again after like 4th grade. He was never suspended from school again for fighting. So that was a huge thing. That's what counseling can do, okay? It's what counseling can do. And it was done in a way where the stigma of it being counseling was not there, because the person who counseled him, though she had a degree in counseling, and she was in fact certified to counsel, she was a teacher that he loved. And so it worked out perfectly. It worked out. Listen, we got to help our children. We got to help our children. It is important that we address whatever issues that they may be having while they're kids. Angry kids grow up to be angry adults, period. period. In my humble opinion, and like I said, by experience, I can tell you that. I was an angry kid and was an extremely angry adult. And one of my children was angry, and I didn't get him the help he needed. And he, to this day, is an angry adult. Suffered a lot of things unnecessarily, in my humble opinion. In my opinion, count, these my children. So it is what it is if you disagree with me. So that she did with him, the extra little time that she took with him, right? It helped him tremendously. He opened back up to where he was. I ain't gonna say he became this social butterfly because he didn't, but he opened back up, right, to where he was originally. And I think he probably opened up a little more, because at this time, by the time between, I think sixth grade he went to middle school. So he graduated 5th grade. By the time he got to middle school, he had friends that he wanted to come to the house. He wanted to go bike riding, stuff like skating at the skating rink, just a lot of stuff like that, right? That wasn't going on originally. So that is my version of how counseling helps. It's with him because he actually got counseling in the midst of what was going on. So he's the example, but the other two didn't. They got counseling. Well, my daughter ended up getting counseling. My son, when I tried to put him in counseling, my my middle son, it was a fight. It was a fight, and he was nearly 18, so there was nothing really more that I couldn't force him, right? I think he had like maybe 2 sessions, and it was ridiculous. It was horrible. So that oldest son of mine, he's the example. And so this is why I can say that I believe that you need professional help when you have faced this traumatic experience. A prison sentence for a person with a family is a traumatic experience, not only to that person, okay, but to that person's family. I'm not making any excuses saying that he didn't commit a crime. I'm not saying that, but we didn't. And we were affected by it. And I don't care how you look at or may feel some type of way, like, well, he got himself in trouble and that's him. My kids, my children were hurt. I was hurt. And I didn't get sentenced to prison, even though I did a prison term. And that's the same thing I feel that happened to my children. In this traumatic experience, the court system is quick to put away these men, and disproportionately black men. Prove me wrong. Before you say anything smart, prove me wrong. Disproportionately black men, and then they leave the pain and the hurt unaddressed. And even when they're released from prison, they don't offer them any help. He got I believe a $200 check, if I remember properly. He got a $200 check and dropped off at the front gate. And that was it. And that was it. And of course, he was on parole, and he had to do these check-ins and needed to work, and just it was a lot, but it didn't matter because he hit the ground running. I think he was out maybe 3 months, and he had a very good job, and that I know was a blessing from God. So that wasn't an issue. The issue was he had no tools to deal with what he had, what he had faced, and the trauma, and the person that he had to become to survive a nearly 6-year prison sentence. That was the problem. That was the problem. And in a society that believes prison, think about it. We call it prison. It's really a correctional facility. What are you really doing to correct the behavior that landed them in prison? You cannot say you're a correctional facility and you don't address those issues. You cannot say you're a correctional facility and you give them no tools to reacclimate to society. You can't, in my humble opinion. You'll hear that a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, because women go to prison as well, I'm well aware of that. Please seek professional help. Please seek professional help. If you care about your family, if you care about your family, seek professional help. Throughout this time of having these conversations, I will be trying to put things in motion where there are therapists that are willing to assist people, because I know now, part of a part of federal law is that you must have health insurance. That's fine and dandy, but for those that slip through the cracks, or for those that can't afford what it may cost, I had really good health insurance, so that's why it was only $5 a visit for us, and then it was only $5 a visit to a certain amount, and then we capped out and we didn't have to pay anymore. So I'm gonna try to put something together where nationwide, something, because this is very near and dear to my heart, because I don't want to see any other family go through this unnecessarily. I really don't. I don't want to see that. So I'm going to do everything within my power to address this. I am. That's one of my missions. It's one of my missions to address this, okay? My son, my oldest son, he is now married with 2 children. They have been married 10 years. 10 years, going on 11. Like I said, he's still depressed in a way. And he also went to the military, so yeah, that didn't help either. that didn't help much, because he went to the military. So a lot of the stuff that he got help with in school, once his grandmother passed and he went to the military, whole nother thing. And I talked to his wife, whom I call my daughter, not my daughter-in-law, that's my daughter. And we're both trying to get him to seek help, because though he is happy, he is bubbly, there are times where he's like off and on, and I don't like it. As his mother, I don't like it. So we're trying to get him to address that, but he is kind of like his father, where when it comes to counseling as an adult. So it's a work, but first we have to get rid of the stigma of mental health issues and the stigma of counseling in the Black community. We have to get rid of that. We have to. And baby, Pastor so-and-so is not going to always be able to help you. Take that from Pastor Mo. Pastor so-and-so is not going to always be able to help you. Like I said, sometimes you don't even want to say certain things to your pastor, right? And so if you're not having the entire situation addressed, it's no way. It's no way. Okay? The next video that's probably this long will more than likely be about My middle son, I love that boy, but woo, Jesus. That middle boy, Lord have mercy. And a lot of it is due to the effect that his father going away to prison had on him. He was the youngest at the time, and he was super, super young. I'm gonna give you just a little story before I close out here. Did I say close out? Forgive me. That's the pastor in me. Before we end this, when, like I said earlier in another video, I wouldn't let my kids see their father until I knew that he was going to be there some time, that this was not going to go away. And so the first time we took, his mother and I took them to see him, the older two kids, they understood it. They kind of, they, as young as they were, they got the picture. Talked through the glass on the phone, yada, yada, yada. But not my son, not my baby. He was my baby at the time. He didn't understand it. So he was running around this place. Where's the door? Where's the door? He wanted to get to his father. He did not understand this thing. And I mean, now looking back on that now, I should have known then how horribly he would be affected by this situation. But again, I was inexperienced and I was immature and I did not know. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't blame myself for everything going wrong in my children's life, but I'm a realistic person, right? And I'm real enough to say and to realize that a different response or a different reaction could have changed the way things turned out. Okay? I'm real, and you won't hurt my feelings if you said that, girl, if you would have just did this, that will not hurt my feelings, right? Even if you said, oh, you was a bad parent for that, that would not hurt my feelings because I carried that, right? I carried that for a long time. It took me some time to forgive myself because I carried that. But I came to the realization that I was only able to parent with what I knew. And based on what I knew at the time, I was a damn good parent. Based on what I knew at the time. You can't be held accountable for not knowing something, right? You just can't. And I don't want to hear if you hadn't had kids so young, and I don't want to hear that because I know for a fact I did a lot better parenting than people that were far older than me because of what I was equipped with, even at that young age, right? So I cast that right out. When it comes to parenting now, maybe physically and mentally, there are some things, but it is what it is. I had my first kid at 15. 1 month, 6 days after my 15th birthday. So basically, throughout being 14, I was pregnant. Had her at 15. July, the year that she was born, I was pregnant again with my oldest son. And we're gonna talk about how things like that happened. Before you may want to judge me from now until you hear me tell you how that happened. So hold on, either do one or two things. Hold on to your judgment until you hear what took place. Or judge me now, but don't leave. Come back to see what happened. Come back to see. And all of it is something that could be addressed by counseling. All of it. So though this whole situation started by me wanting to help people understand that it is imperative to get counseling if you want your marriage or relationship and your kids not to suffer. If you're married to somebody that's either incarcerated or has been incarcerated, it's imperative. It is imperative. And then we just gonna go on down the list of how the domino effect can happen when counseling is not received. Again, I say we must kill the stigma of counseling in the Black community. We must, in any community that has a stigma, because I'm pretty sure that the Black community is not the only community, but like I said, I grew up in a Black household and I raised my children in a Black household. And you can't say don't bring race into it, because a lot of things that I learned growing up was because it was a Black household, and I took into my household with my children because I'm a Black woman and I was married to a Black man. And so I took a lot of things that I learned from being the daughter of two Black parents. It was what I knew. And I learned some things to do and some things not to do. I vowed to not do a lot of things that my parents did when they were raising me, when I was coming up. And so that's why I said the way I said, not to be offensive to anyone, but to make sure that I don't try to speak for anybody else or any other race. And when I am speaking, I can't speak for the entire Black race, okay? But I can speak for how I was born, how I was raised, how I brought up my children, and how I was brought up by my Black parents. Therefore, how my siblings were brought up by our Black parents, etc. That's what you'll get from me. So please don't take what I'm saying as a staple to how all Black households behaved and how all Black households operated. Don't take it as that. Don't box us in. Don't box in no one. Don't box in no one. Right? I'm not a professional. When I talk to you, it's based on my experience. I love y'all. Okay, take care. Bye.